David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have a pen for you from Monteverde, and that pen is the Regatta Sport. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Regatta Sport. I'll talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Then stay tuned to learn how you can win this very pen, courtesy of Jaffa Brands, the parent company and U.S. distributor of Monteverde, as well as a number of other brands who have provided this pen for review and for me to give away to one of you. Monteverde is a US-based company that started back in 1979. And this is not a brand new pen. The Regatta Sport has been around for a few years. The pen arrives in this standard Monteverde box. Inside there is a warranty card as well as a couple of cartridges. And then we have the pen, the Regatta Sport. The distinguishing feature of the Regatta Sport are the bands that are present on both the cap and the barrel. There are many different versions of this pen. Some have colored bands, some have a combination of colors and carbon fiber, and then there is this model which is all carbon fiber. The name of the model is actually called the full carbon fiber. I like the looks of the woven carbon fiber. There's an outer plastic layer on top of the carbon fiber. This serves to give the material a bit more depth. And all the trim on this full carbon fiber model is black. The sections of carbon fiber are separated by bands of knurled metal. I really like the added texture that the knurling provides. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. The top of the cap is inlaid with a metal piece depicting the Monteverde logo. The alignment of the logo to the clip is off by about 2 degrees. I like the insert, but kind of wish it was more precisely aligned. Next we have the clip. It has a sloping design and is very functional in dress shirt pockets as well as thicker jeans pockets. The cap is essentially straight. The knurled rings are just slightly raised. They aren't quite flush with the rest of the material. Then we have the cap band. It's an interesting design because the printing on it is not applied via engraving or stamping. There's kind of a black coating applied to the exterior metal parts of this pen, and the lettering is just slightly raised. There is a very small step down from the cap to the barrel, and the barrel has a similar look to the cap. Actually, on the barrel, the sections are actually equal in size. On the cap, the middle section is the same as those on the barrel, but the two on each end of the cap are just a couple millimeters smaller. There is a step down to this piece on the back of the barrel, which kind of reminds me of a wooden cleat on a sailboat. Basically one of those things that you tie mooring ropes around. And then the end of this piece is slightly rounded, giving the nautical name of this pen that I think that these features would be appropriate. The cap is affixed via a magnet. This is one of the better magnetic caps that I've experienced. The magnet is right at the base of the cap, and the benefit of this is that you don't need to worry about the magnet getting prolonged exposure to moisture. If the magnet is set further back and kind of affixed to the end of the section, then it can, when the ink evaporates, it could actually cause some higher levels of humidity inside the cap, and this could potentially result in the magnet rusting, which is not a good thing. I also find that the magnet has an appropriate level of attraction. I believe that technical term is called Gauss, named after the German mathematician and physicist Carl Friedrich Gauss. It's secure enough that I don't feel it's at risk of coming off inadvertently, but it doesn't require an extraordinary effort to remove the cap. Once you have removed the cap, underneath we have a number 6 steel nib that is Monteverde branded. This particular nib is a medium. I will say that I always haven't had the best experience with Monteverde nibs. On previous pens, I found them to be rather inconsistent, but the one on this Regatta Sport is very pleasant and very nice. I haven't experienced any issues with it at all. It's decently smooth, and the ink flow is very, very nice, as you'll see in the writing sample. I also feel that the black nib was a good choice for this pen. A silver-colored nib would have looked out of place with all the other black going on this pen. I've always found it interesting that the Monteverde name is stamped twice on their nibs. It's on the shoulder of the left tine as well as the base of the nib. I can't think of any other brand that has their company name more than once on a nib. It's just a bit peculiar. And then here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is very slightly concave. It's metal, but the metal is coated, so I don't find it to be slick at all. Since the cap is magnetic, there are no threads, but in order to give the magnet enough material to attract to, there's a rather large step up to the barrel. The transition isn't sharp, but I can't say that I particularly find it comfortable. For me, it feels a little bit awkward. The Regatta Sport is plenty long enough for me to use unposted, and it utilizes the magnet to post as well. While I do like the looks of the pen when it's posted, I do find that the cap is a little bit heavy and it throws off the balance of the pen and back weights it a little bit. Not a ton, but enough that I personally prefer to not post this cap. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges and a converter is provided. There is a lot of internal metal on this pen, so I would not recommend converting it to an eyedropper. I do like the overall looks and design of the Regatta Sport. And as you'll see in the writing sample, this particular nib is the best one on a Monteverde pen that I have personally experienced. The only real issue that I have with the pen is just the large step up from the section to the barrel. I understand why it's there. I just wish it wasn't so steep. There are different versions of this Regatta Sport. For the colored versions, they retail around $76. There are a few models with escalating prices until you get to this full carbon fiber model, which retails for $108. For what you receive with this pen and the performance that I've experienced, I honestly feel that that's a reasonable price for this model. I wouldn't have an issue paying that amount. Thanks again go out to Jaffa Brands for providing this pen for review and for giveaway. In regard to the giveaway, in order to enter, all you need to do is leave a comment here on this video in YouTube, or if you're a Patreon supporter, you could do so there. If you are a Patreon supporter, I greatly appreciate your continued support. In regard to a comment topic, it's been a few months since I've done a Q&A, so why don't you leave me a question? It could be fountain pen or ink related or something personal. I'm up for just about any questions. 72 hours after the posting of this video, I will randomly select a winner. Good luck to all of you. What I do is I actually reply to your comment and give you a deadline of a couple of days in order to get back to me. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Monteverde Regatta Sport full carbon fiber. Here it is with a Conklin Durograph. Here it is with a Pilot Metropolitan. And then here it is with a Nemesine Singularity. And in regard to a couple of pens that will be reviewed in the somewhat near future, here it is with a Leonardo Fiore. Then here it is with a Pineider Avatar. And then here it is with an interesting pen from Conklin, which is their Mark Twain crescent filler. I actually have two. I have a black one, and then I have this demonstrator, which is kind of cool because you can see how everything operates on the inside. And so look for a review and actually a giveaway coming up in the relatively near future for the Conklin Mark Twain, and that's what it looks like in regard to the Regatta. So here we have the Monteverde Regatta Sport. This is a medium steel nib, and the ink that I'm using here today is Monteverde Mandarin Orange. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice kind of like a blood orange. It's a little bit darker than something like the Tassia Dye. And then here it is with another one of my favorite recent oranges, which is this Robert Oster Pen Addict Fire on Fire. So you can see that it isn't quite as vibrant as the Tassia, and it doesn't quite have as much sheen or shading as the Robert Oster, but it's kind of a nice blood orange type color. And this is what the bottle looks like. The Monteverde comes in a couple of different sizes bottles. This is the 30 milliliter bottle, which is a nice size. I like that it has a large opening, so you can get just about any pen inside there. Okay, so how about the rest of the writing sample? I mentioned it during the review, but I always haven't had the greatest experience with some Monteverde nibs. This one by far is the best Monteverde nib that I have experienced. It's a steel nib, so you're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. You can get some, but I do find that the ink flow is very decent on this particular pen. And in regard to some reverse writing, it's decent, and I don't find that it's too sharp at all. And then in regard to some fast writing, the ink flow is very good on there. So there we have the Monteverde Regatta Sport. Don't forget to leave your comment either on YouTube or in Patreon in order for your chance to win this very pen. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.